moderators today. My name is Chin. I work at the Berkeley Public Library. I'm a specialist there. That's where I met AB. We did the first Taria Hall Pittman South Branch Zine Fest, and it was amazing. I'm born and raised in Oakland, and have always been a fan of zines and comics, because I just always thought, like, what a clever way to get, to express a point of view. I love how zines can just be like poetic and political and hilarious, and it draws me in, and it's so powerful to be able to publish your own point of view in such a succinct but meaningful way. So I'm definitely honored to be in conversation with these artists today. Just to go down the line to introduce, we have Demetria Tacumbo, and I have bios. I'm going to introduce people properly. I'll try to keep this to myself. Demetria Tacumbo is a writer, researcher, and cartoonist living in Oakland, California. She has published children's books with Tilbury House and Scholastic Press, and created art for the Harriet's Apothecary, the Center for the Anti-Violence Education, and the Brooklyn Children's Museum. Before moving to the Bay Area and completing an MFA in comics at California College of the Arts, Tacumbo raised her two daughters in Brooklyn, New York. Tacumbo's comics combine her love for the musicality of language, her fascination with history, and her lifelong compulsion to draw pictures. She is currently working on a graphic hybrid memoir that blends a biography of the 18th century poet Phillis Wheatley with her own journey as a book creator. Though separated by circumstances of nearly 200 years, Tacumbo interweaves these narratives using personal and ancestral stories to examine how creative women find power and purpose despite systemic erasure. And next down the line, we have, it's like AB and Avi, I'm bouncing but Avi Singh is here with us. He's a storyteller from India who was forced to create reinterpretations of Hindu mythology by the disappointed spirits of his ancestors. Before leaving home to pursue comics in 2022, he had the honor of working as one of India's finest communication design firms on health and social awareness campaigns, parallelly pursuing an amateur art education career. He has been working on the self-published series Mach since 2024, occasionally taking a break to watch bad B-movies, too much football, it's not soccer, and furiously pet animals. And next, I'm just gonna go to A.B. Jetter. We have down there at the end, A.B. Jetter draws and self-publishes the comic book series Nothing Good Ever Happens at 4 a.m., a horror comic set in dystopian Oakland, California, featuring primarily a BIPOC cast of characters fighting their way through the hordes of zombies. A huge horror and sci-fi movie fan, she enjoys all things blood and guts, strange and creepy. She also writes, illustrates, and self-publishes zines about mental health, grief, and healing, as well as Black history. AB lives and works in Oakland, California, and devotes her time to organizing community events and Zine Fest, which has brought us here. AB Jetter contributed Hurt Not Broken to the 2020 Eisner-winning nonfiction comics anthology, Drawing Power, Women's Stories of Sexual Violence, Harassment, and Survival, published by Abrams. Currently, you can find her work in the comics anthology Artists Against Police Brutality, published by Rosarium, the Encyclopedia of Black Comics, published by Fulcrum, and Black Comics Returns, published by Lion Forge, and comics anthology Drawing Power, produced by Abrams. You may also find AB's contributions to the graphic novel Box of Bones, Volume 2, and published by Rosarium Press as well. And right next to AB, we have our guest of honor, Awan Metz. Awan Metz is a professor of English at Mills College and an instructor at the Illustration and Comics programs at California College of the Arts. Their illustrations and comics have appeared in several collections, including We're Still Here, winner of the 2019 Ignatz Award for Outstanding Anthology. Drawing Power, winner of the 2020 Eisner Award for Best Anthology. Menopause, a comic treatment, winner of the 2021 Eisner Award for Best Anthology. She Votes from Chronicle Books, COVID Chronicles, a comics anthology, and others. Awan is the author and illustrator of the upcoming Living While Black, Portraits of Everyday Resistance. This summer, their 1001 Black Men online sketchbook project was released in book form as 1001 section from Stack Deck Press. Was that this summer?
You know, that was summer of 2022.
So that was the first work I saw.
Oh, yeah.
Has been, she tabled at Alternative Press Expo.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So very, very familiar. Yeah, so just welcome to all these artists. Thank you for sharing your time and talent with us. There is a presentation that we'll get into at the end. I do want to start just getting with some get to know you questions from the artists. I would like all of you to kind of tell us what is one piece of your work that you want to leave as like the definitive like work of this is me. If someone like needed an introduction to you, no words were told, just your piece of work, what would that one thing be? We can start with you, Tanisha.
Well, I'm still working on that piece. Yeah, so the hybrid memoir that I'm doing, where I'm talking about Phyllis Wheatley's work and also my work as a bookmaker, and that I know that that's not the right way to say it because I think bookmakers have something to do with gambling.
That's right.
So yeah, so I had to take it to like book creator. Do I take a risk every day. But yeah, I feel like that work is an American story, and it's also a story that ties me back to Africa. And so I think if anyone picked up that book, then they would know what my contribution is.
I would say it's definitely Moksha for me because I haven't done comics like done comics before the program that I went to with the Nietzsche at CCA. And I truly found purpose and like my voice as an artist, I would say. And it represents who I would everyone and everything about my culture that I want to represent. So it would be Moksha.
I guess I would say it could be the 1001 Black Men project that I did. It was 6.5 years of looking at Black people and trying to represent folks as they are. And it was, before it was a collection, it was a series of zines, out of which then came my children's book, What Do Brothers Do All Day, that came out in 2023 in November. Around this time in 2023, and then got me into the zine world and got me into making comics. And so I think that either the book 1001 Black Men or just the project over those years speaks to who I am as an artist and as a person.
Yeah, I think the definitive work would be this latest one, my zine anthology for the 10 years of curating and organizing Oakland Creates. I really think it's informed by my desire to bring community together, and so not only showcase my work, but also the work of new and emerging artists and artists that don't typically have a voice of more marginalized people. In just really a meaningful way. I feel like not only my purpose and vision is to bring people together and start conversations and to interrogate larger universal questions, but really have a tangible, practical way for that to be applied in our everyday life. And I think there's no greater thing than bringing human beings together who are kindred spirits and like-minded. So this anthology talks about how it started, how it was created, and then it showcases all the different people that have been guests of honor over the years. And then it has comics and zines from various artists as well. So it's kind of a hybrid of what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So, yeah.
It's such a huge task, I think you all take on being a storyteller for, you know, like Amy was saying, these underrepresented voices, but also just like iconic symbols that we all know, mythological symbols that we know. So how do you approach storytelling? Someone's like huge, long history or story, how do you get it down to this one medium that you can share?
I can start with that. I think finding your own personal entry point and allowing it to be about you, right? Because in being specific, a lot of times you end up finding universal connections, where people can relate to those things. The more specific that you get about what it is that attracts you to that subject, you will find that other people can also see themselves in your story. So I think that for me, when I look at Phyllis Wheatley, I look for the things that I relate to, and then other people can relate to those things as well.
I call up my mom. I'm like, do you hate this? She says yes, and that's exactly what I think for me, growing up the way I did, I grew up in India in a certain class, and I grew up teaching a lot of kids who did not have any access to, proper education, housing, whatever. So I want them to read my stories more than anything. I feel like the best way to gauge how to do that is talking to kids and being like, what do you like? What do you like? And they will distill information so quickly for you. They'll be like, I don't really care about that stuff, but that interests me. And then I go back, I look at how can I enrich it? How can I add some more nuance to it? How can I add more layers and put in some subliminal messaging, not the sinister kind, but the one
Sinister characters.
Easter eggs.
it's actually a lot of sinister. But I think that's how I do it. I mostly talk to young folk and kids and be like, oh, what do you like? And then I try to just make it a little broader so that more people can enjoy it.
I guess for me, storytelling, visual storytelling is really important, being able to see people. And so I feel like my drawings and illustrations that don't have words are narrative. And in terms of the writing for comics, it's been interesting. I kind of think about my life and then take the silliest parts of it and put that together, and that becomes a lens through which to look at something. My first comic was about dating guys during college, and what I learned about gender from that very interesting and ill-conceived experience. We met some great people. We had a lot in common. And when I started writing my comics, I didn't realize how funny my life actually was. And so just kind of looking back on things, or looking at things I encounter every day, and I just can't seem to take myself seriously at all. And so that's really become the basis, even for comics that I write that are about not me. I use my own weird kind of lens on what makes this ridiculous, and then try to move forward from that.
I think one of the greatest approaches for myself is trying to write for my younger self what I would like to have seen when I was a kid. And then also what I don't see, like there's a huge gap, I feel like, for especially brown or black women, and especially in these dystopian spaces or horror spaces. I really love group dynamics where you survive a world event or climactic zombie invasion, and I never see myself represented, or just a multitude or a variety of different people, like fat people, people in a wheelchair, blind people, deaf people. And so I'm going to write those people because I never see them. You mean to tell me there's no fat women surviving the zombie apocalypse? Like, come on. So I'm going to write for myself first, and then what I want to see. There's got to be one person in a wheelchair that's bad. That's fucking living through, that's living through some type of tragedy, or that's a vampire, or, you know what I mean? So that's really what it's about, is representing people that I don't normally see. I'm really tired of the trope of black people dying first in horror, so let's change that narrative.
Yeah, it kind of leads me to the next question about how, you choose the visuals for the story that you're telling. I know you said that that's where you kind of begin and more, but like, for someone creating something, what is the image that they should capture that kind of goes with their storytelling? How do you all get there?
For
Well,
me,
I'm sorry, I can answer. I mean, I'm just a huge proponent. If nobody dies in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I'm turning it off. So that's usually visually too. Like if nobody's getting bitten or beaten up or blood is spraying everywhere in the first 2-3 pages, I mean, it's not interesting. So that's that's my approach to my horror comics. My nonfiction stuff, not so much. Mostly I want a character arc with nonfiction. It's when I'm talking about myself. But the fun stuff, yeah, there's just action. There has to be something happening in the first 2 or 3 pages visually. And it's interesting for me to draw that too. I mean, that's usually where my mind is going all the time. So, sorry to interrupt you.
oh, no. I was just gonna say that my visual style, or even what draws me, has been changing. Like I've only been making comics since 2022. And I went to a manga exhibit a month ago at the DeYoung, and I went home and just revamped one of my comics because seeing it on the wall, seeing it in the book and seeing it on the wall are 2 different experiences. But seeing that there's a visual language that has more space for the cinematography of it. So like these wide angle scenes or these zoom ins, or looking at the different aspect to aspect of your environment. Things that I didn't think about when I'm telling a story, I'm thinking about the people who are talking. But we don't only fixate on who's speaking. Like we take in so many things, and these artists in this manga exhibit showed that, and I wanted to show that, and I wanted to experiment and see what it was like coming from me in my style, you know. So I feel like I'm growing. Like I don't know if any of my comics are going to look the same going forward. So
For me, since I mostly work in sci-fi, fantasy, adjacent genres, or mythology, I think I go for a spectacle and human emotion. Like I'm like, okay, I need to capture these 2 things immediately. Like aliens, that's my version of people being disemboweled.